Hi there, thanks for joining me. So today I'd like to talk about my translation project work for the first half of 2026 and more or less the past 2 or 3 years. I've made some small updates, I think, on and off, but mostly just to say, hey, I'm working on this Love Hina translation project. This is Love Hina Surprise Engagement for the Dreamcast. This is something I've been working on with Derek Pascarella of A Team. They've done, he and his group have done a whole bunch of cool translations, things on the Dreamcast, like I think he's got at the top of his profile here, Nakodudu, the gift she gave me. This is like the character from Samurai Spirits, a whole narrative game based on her, which is super interesting. I actually almost was interested in assisting translation for this game, but they had a good translator who had, appropriate time to work on that. And when it came around to Love Hina, and Derek was looking for help on that, I felt like I had time at that point to help out with that project. And I do want to address the fact that that situation changed after I started working on the project, unfortunately. So it took a bit longer than I had anticipated. Mostly, I would say that was due to the fact that I started doing some professional translation, trying to make money translating. And, I was really in a position where I wanted to make that work as something that I could be doing kind of full time, and making a living of sorts off of it. Which unfortunately at this point is like, it worked to some degree, but it's not working out financially the way that I'd like. So I'm still doing that, but I'm backing off a little bit on it. But it was an interesting project to work on, without a doubt. I really like Love Hina. I think it's a fun romantic comedy, anime and manga series. One that I definitely, it's not that I grew up with it really, but like it's an older series now, and like when I was into anime in my whatever early 20s or something, something I really enjoyed, right? Um, so so yeah, it's been fun translating this. I think there are some challenges with this script in particular. One is that the characters, there's at least a couple of them that speak various thicknesses of Kansai accent, right? Kansai dialect. So Kitsune in particular, really leans into that Kansai Ben. And, that was fine. I have a book on Kansai Ben, and I was able to reference that a lot while I was translating. And we have good tools these days to kind of help us to, look up grammar and vocab and all that kinds of stuff. So that was fun, I think, for me. Definitely, added some challenge and variety to the script. And I think, my goal was to probably translate about one of these files per week. And if I remember correctly, there were 52 files. So that would have been about a year's worth of work, which I think is really reasonable for this script. And, give or take, I think I was allowing myself maybe like a year and a half or something. Seems pretty reasonable. There's a lot of text in this game. Now, for me, I feel like I was engaged with this project for over like close to 3 years, basically, like definitely over 2.5 years. And, I think I would attribute most of that to the fact that I just was doing other translation work, right? It's easy to get burnt out on translating, and it just ended up taking a bit more time than I wanted. Now, we did bring in other translators to kind of like do some multi-processing, sort of, multi-threaded translation work, and really speed up this translation progress. But unfortunately, we really went through a lot of translator churn on this, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think since the Kansai Ben might have had something to do with it. But it's not that unusual on projects. If people haven't done a lot of, fan translation work for unofficial fan translations, either the just the commitment, right, that it requires without a lot of incentive, I think can throw translators off, right? Um, and even just the kind of text that you're translating, right? I think this is the kind of text that I'm used to translating for the most part. But sometimes, it's other people are coming from different translation backgrounds, and it can be hard to just dig into one of these projects and really stick with it, especially when the time frame was like a year to three, right? So I'm not, coming after anybody. It was just an interesting thing I wanted to mention. We didn't get as much help moving the time frame of this project up as we were hoping, I would say. But we did have at least a couple translators, like dig in, get a couple few files translated, and especially towards the end, we had a translator come in, and I feel like really sort of picked up the last 10 to 15% of the script anyway, right? So I was definitely kind of like a main translator on this, but I probably translated 60 to 70% of the script, like maybe 70, I think is pretty reasonable, 65, 70. Um, but yeah, hopefully this is something that might be coming up in the not too distant future. We'll have to see. I think Derek did a little update here not so long ago, just sort of mentioning like the completion progress. So, all of the script is translated. Um, and yeah, it's only 34.6% complete as a translation project. That's because there's a bunch of editing, insertion, final edits to do, all of that kind of stuff, play testing and whatnot. So yeah, I wouldn't say hold your breath, but I know that there's a good dedicated team working on this. So I'm kind of stepped back from it for now, and we'll see where that goes. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Um, Now I did a video not so long ago where I mentioned dumping a whole bunch of scripts. So if you want a little bit more technical information on that, you can see my previous video. But yeah, I've dumped a lot of scripts. Not all of these are my dumps. Amigami Sama, that was something Esper Knight dumped. July, actually Derek, which I had forgot to mention, Derek also helped kind of, do work on helping us finish up the Team Innocent translation project for the PCFX that we did recently, which was very nice. He also dumped a script for July for me. Now, I had made a video on one of my other channels recently at kind of conducting a poll about what out of games that I'm interested on the Dreamcast would other people like to see translated. July was high on that list. It's like an adventure narrative style game, right? But I've started doing a little work on that. This is actually a redump script that I did, dumping it kind of the way I've dumped some of these other scripts. But um, I don't know that Derek is like on board to do any technical work on that necessarily, but it's something that, might happen at some point. Because I think that would be cool to see on the Dreamcast. But yeah, I would say any of these games on this list are kind of, potential projects for me that I'm interested in translating, right? So I have done some work on that, and I wanted to just talk about that. One of those, probably the most significant development, has been on Power Dolls. Now, Power Dolls FX for the PCFX, this is a like an anime styled strategy game. Kind of like a tactical strategy game, right? Where it's like mission based, and it's this all female team of mech pilots on it seems kind of Gundam based. They're on a colonized world, and that world is, I think, fighting for its independence from Earth, right? And so Earth is sending forces to this planet in order to sort of maintain their control, kind of their governmental control over it. Um, but yeah, there's this nice playthrough here. It's got like 10 videos in it, and yeah, I have basically followed this playthrough in order to check the script, which led to some interesting things, right? um, but you can see here under the translation, this is actually complete. I have translated what I hope to be the entire script. It there is a possibility there is some missing text, and that was kind of one of the interesting parts, which is um, that PHP script that I ran against the disk image did miss some text, and I was a little surprised it had missed as much as it had. Ultimately, it was probably 10%, 15%, maybe somewhere along those lines. But that might indicate that I need to, address how um, the text is being discovered, right? And processed. So we'll have to see. All of these other scripts that I've dumped, if there's text missing in them, I'm a little concerned about that, I guess, but we'll see how it goes. But at any rate, we did have somebody swing by the Discord server, Spitco, I believe, who was interested in getting this game translated and doing the technical work on it. So that really lit a fire under me to go ahead and get this script translated. It took me about a month, and honestly, it was kind of more effort than I was expecting, mostly because of the missing text. And also, I did do sort of a full editing pass, kind of following along with this playthrough. And just, once you get into the weeds of a project, it becomes a slog. It doesn't matter if it's a short script or a long script. There's a period of slog time. And I definitely reached that toward the end of this. But it only took about a month and it's done. So hopefully, I think Spitco has kind of reached maybe the limit of where they are going to get in terms of they did some like disassembly work on this. And just kind of got to a point where they're like, okay, I probably can't or just isn't going to do more work on that. So they're preparing to share their work on the Discord, and hopefully we can get somebody else to basically hack a script into this game. So we'll be working on that. No promises, but I would love to see another PCFX translation project finished up if possible here. We'll see. I definitely have kind of done what I can for that. So the rest is up to kind of finding somebody else to finish that off. And I guess the other somewhat significant progress to report would be on this Silent Mobius game. Now, I don't know if folks are familiar with Silent Mobius. It's a anime and manga series by Kia Asamiya, a very famous like anime character designer and mangaka. So yeah, this is a game that I imported for the PlayStation way back. I'd say the first games that I ever imported were like the Ranma fighting game for the Super Nintendo and like the Evangelion game for the Saturn and stuff like that. But I would say this is like sort of in that early games that I ever considered importing for the PlayStation. And it was, I would say, around when this was contemporary. Like it had come out and I saw promotional material on it. And it was really kind of playing up I would say, the RPG aspects of this kind of. I think, games like Final Fantasy VII and stuff were popular probably around the time. And so it was like, oh, hey, look at um, the special effects, like the spell effects and things during battle and stuff like that. But really, I wouldn't necessarily describe this as an RPG, strictly speaking. It's more of an adventure game with RPG elements. So you literally point and click your way around the environment, which is kind of unique for a PlayStation game, right? And yeah, it's, I would say, mostly a relatively linear narrative game, but there are cool battle elements to it, right? And you fight enemies. There are random encounters. A lot of stuff that's very RPG-esque. You have I think these three characters are probably always your active characters, and then you have kind of backup, like passive characters that do abilities and things of that nature. And it's pretty cool. It's very cyberpunk, sort of set in a futuristic Tokyo, but it's this like all-female police force of people going after these like supernatural and monsters basically that are showing up in Tokyo. So it's definitely like um, I would say a popular and somewhat significant like noteworthy series in like the late 80s in Japan and maybe like into the early 90s. I think they did a TV series. Previous to that they'd done a couple of movies. And yeah, it's just something that I liked, right? um, in doing some translation work on this, I have not completed the script by any means, but when I looked back over it, I'd say I've done more than I expected. So I did an initial commit. You can see that was actually just 2 days ago, but I'd done some work on it previously. This version of the script file I'm working with is one that I had run, um, a script on to remove any duplicated text. Sometimes games store their text multiple times over and it can get kind of bloated. But then again, if you go and deduplicate your script, it's possible that you're going to remove repeated lines that are kind of supposed to be in there. So um, I'm gonna. I think now that I know that I missed some text in Power Dolls, I'm probably going to be scrutinizing the script more. Um, to make sure that it has all of the text that I'm looking for. But once again, I can fall back on this playthrough, and honestly, it's not that long. This is what about a little less than 7 hours long, and it's a full playthrough of the game. So we're not talking a really lengthy game here. And the script, I don't want to say it's a small script because it is a narrative adventure game, but it's not necessarily a really long script either, right? So I haven't done a lot of work on this, but I have started kind of like following the playthrough a little bit and translating some of the text so I can see it in context, which is really nice for it just being as accurate and ready for insertion as possible. So we'll see. I don't have anybody on board to do technical work for this, but I see this project as something that I'm probably going to keep working on. I'm not guaranteeing that this is like a script that's going to be finished anytime soon, but I think out of all of these scripts, it's one that I'm enjoying translating. And honestly, it's a little easy. It's kind of a breath of fresh air because I feel like it's really written probably to a like junior high school level of Japanese more so than like even Love Hina, I think is probably written a little more to like a high school level. And some of the stuff that I'm translating professionally is like it's definitely written to like an adult level of comprehension. So just translating something like this is just it's nice, kind of nice. It's almost like a little bit of a break after that kind of stuff. Thanks for making it this far. I do have a Ko-fi. I'll probably post this video on there and link to it from social media. So certainly I never ask for payment for any of my videos, my translation patches, the articles that I put up. Everything's free, and you can download them for free and enjoy them for free, and it's all free. But if you feel like buying me a coffee, I would really appreciate that. I'm actually, uh, poor right now, right? I was mentioning that the translation is not quite as lucrative as I was hoping. So I would really appreciate any support you guys want to give. These projects are a significant time investment, right? And it's definitely something I want to do. So like I put the time into them, but like it is like I don't want to start thinking about like, well, what if I were using all that time on something, that is of more monetary value, right? But it definitely makes it easier for me to justify putting time into things like this when I have you know, kind of everything taken care of in the way that I need for it to be taken care of. But anywho, thanks again, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.